A warm welcome to everyone. So, in the previous session, we studied about the D2D communication, where the D2D communication is based on physical layer broadcast. The physical layer broadcast solution is used to support broadcast, multicast, and unicast service at the application layer. In order to support multicast or unicast, the target group ID or the user ID is indicated in the message itself. Since by construction, we also saw that since by construction, it is a broadband broadcasted information. Okay, so no physical layer closed control loop exists. So if there is no physical layer, that means no link adaptations and no HRQ is supported in D2D. Okay, in particular for D2D data communication, it's the air interface is completely based on UU interface and UL channel structure, which is extended to D2D communication. So we also saw that how the resource pool is utilized and how the information will be carried over the broadcast message in the previous class. So now we will be seeing what exactly the information is about or how data transmission occurs in a D2D communication. So before the D2D data transmission, every transmitter sends out a control signal and information on the data transmission format and the occupied resource. This applies to the scenario where the network is assigning resources to the D2D transmitter and the scenario where the transmitter selects the resource by itself. At the receiving side, it is not necessary to listen to the cellular control channel in order to find out where the D2D data is located. Just based on the content of the D2D control channel, the receiving device can find out the right location of the relevant resources. As to the resource usage for D2D communication, two different modes are specified. That is mode 1 and mode 2, which is as to the resource usage for D2D communication. There are two modes for D2D communication. One is mode 1 and mode 2. So what do you mean by mode 1? In mode 1, a E node B or a relay node schedules the exact resources schedules the exact resources used by a user interface to transmit D2D data and D2D control information. Obviously, mode 1 can be only applied to the scenarios where the transmitting user interface are within the network coverage. So that means in mode 1, what happens? E node B schedules the exact resource which is needed or which is used by a user interface to transmit the D2D data and D2D control information. Okay, the mode 1 can only be applied to the scenarios where the transmitting user interface are within the network coverage only. Okay, in mode 2, let's see what happens in mode 2. A user interface by itself selects resources from the configured resource pool to transmit D2D data and D2D control information. Okay, a user interface by itself selects resources, so resources will not be provided to it or specified resource will not be dedicated resources will not be assigned to the device, but the user interface by itself selects resources from the configured resource pool to transmit data, D2D data and D2D control information. So mode 2 can be applied no matter whether the transmitting UE has network coverage area or not. So in mode 1, it has to be within the network coverage area. In the second one, it automatically selects the selects the resource from the resource pool, and it might or it might not be in the network coverage area. So these are the two modes for D2D communication. Okay. Next, we will come across a new topic, that is the second one, that is known as D2D discovery. So that is in LTE release 12, discovery is applicable only to the user interfaces within the network coverage. Okay. The concerned user interface can be in either RRC idle mode state or RRC connected state. So what do you mean by RRC? So RRC is nothing but radio radio resource control. Okay, this is the protocol This is the protocol. Protocol is used in UMTS and LTE on the air interface. It is a layer that exists between the user interface and the eNode B and exists at the IP layer, that is in the network layer. Okay, RRC is nothing but it's only for your general information or your what you're understanding that what exactly is the RRC means. RRC protocol is used in the LTE on the air interface. It is a layer that exists between user interface and eNode B and exists at the IP layer or the IP level. The major function of the RRC protocol includes connection establishment and release function, broadcast of system information, radio bearer establishment, reconfiguration and release, RRC connection mobility procedures, paging notification and release and outer loop power control. Okay, so these are the major functions of RRC and RRC idle. RRC idle is the most low power consumption state in RRC, where the entire device will be in the idle state. Okay, so once the user interface is connected between a device, okay, between another device, now we are considering only where the user interface is within the network coverage area. So when it is not connected to any other device, then RRC is in idle state. Okay, or when it is connected to another device, then it is known as RRC connected state, where it will be connected to another device. Similar to the resource for D2D communication, the D2D discovery, okay, resources are arranged as resource pool as well, okay, which are indicated by the eNode B via system information block. Okay, the resource pools are defined with parameters including discovery period, discovery offset indicator, and subframe bitmap. Okay, the resource pools are identified. Now the resource pools has to be identified. Okay, now the resource pools are identified with parameters which include discovery period, discovery offset indicator, subframe bitmap. Okay, next, the frequency resources within a D2D subframe are given by the parameters such as start PRB, end PRB, and number PRB. Okay, the frequency resources within a D2D subframe are given by parameters such as start PRB, end PRB, and num PRB. There are two ways specified for transmitting user interface to get the resource from the discovery message transmission. Okay, there are two ways specified for transmitting the user interface to get the resource from discovery message transmission. So type 1 is the user interface selects automatically the resource for transmission from the discovery pool. Okay, in the type 1, what happens? The user interface selects autonomously, okay, autonomously the resource for transmission from the discovery pool, that is independent of the UERRC state. Next, in type 2B, the user interface transmits on resource allocated for it by the network, only applicable for RRC connected. Okay, now these are the two ways specified for transmitting user interface to get the resource from the discovery message transmission. So that is type 1 will be the user interface select autonomously the resource for transmission from the discovery pools. Type 2B, the user interface transmits on resources allocated for it by the network. Okay, so this is the D2D discovery which happens. So now we completed the entire D2D operation of the 4G LTE system. So in the 4G LTE system, so we from 4G to 5G. So they'll be asking you a question on any of the topic or any of the subframe. Okay, so first is D2D standardization, that is 4G LTE D2D. So what are the two standardization techniques? Then the next topic will be your D2D synchronization, how to synchronize the device to device, device to how to do the synchronization between device to device, and next is side link synchronization signal, and next is D2D communication, how the physical layer broadcast communication occurs between the device to device, and next is this modes, and the last topic will be D2D discovery. So uh, this entire procedure is required to for connection and the discovery, synchronization, standardization, synchronization, connection and discovery. So these four techniques or the four procedures will be involved in a device to device communication. Okay, so this covers your first heading in your syllabus, that is the second chapter syllabus, D2D from 4G to 5G. So in the coming class we will be going through the applications of D2D in 5G, and also what are the changes we are going to make in the 5G sector. Okay, which depends on D2D. Okay, thank you so much.